On the morning of October 25, 1957, a mafia kingpin sat unsuspecting in a Manhattan barber chair. Two masked gunmen stormed into the Park Sheraton Hotel barbershop, shoved the barber aside, and riddled Albert Anastasia with bullets. The notorious boss, already nicknamed the Lord High Executioner and the Mad Hatter for his brutality, collapsed face first, surrounded by bloodied white towels. New York police later concluded the murder had been arranged by rival mobsters Vito Genovese and Carlo Gambino. This public assassination, Anastasia's body slumped in a barber's chair, became an indelible scene in mafia lore, marking the violent end of one of America's most feared gangsters. Notorious nicknames: the Earthquake and One-Man Army, for his terrifying strength and ruthless reputation; the Mad Hatter and Lord High Executioner, reflecting his role as Murder Inc.'s head assassin and the bloody chaos he commanded. Albert Anastasia was born Umberto Anastasio on September 26, 1902, in Parghelia, poor village in Calabria, Italy. In 1919, he and several of his brothers jumped ship in New York Harbor and stowed away on Manhattan's docks. The four Anastasio brothers found work as longshoremen on the Brooklyn waterfront, a tough life that soon plunged young Umberto into crime. By 1921, just shy of 19, he had murdered a fellow dock worker in a fight and was sentenced to die in Sing Sing prison. Miraculously, 4 key witnesses disappeared before trial, and he won a retrial in 1922. The charges were dropped and Anastasia was released, even adopting the IA ending to his last name around that time. This 1936 NYPD mugshot captures Anastasia's steely glare after a series of gangland crimes. By then, he had already survived several murder indictments. Witnesses in 3 cases mysteriously vanished. Underworld reports from the Mob Museum note that Anastasia was charged in 3 murders, but in each case, witnesses disappeared or refused to testify. That uncanny ability to evade justice only enhanced his reputation as a killer who could not be pinned down. It was on the docks and in New York's criminal underworld that Anastasia honed his skills, controlling waterfront labor unions and forging alliances with rising mobsters. In the late 1920s, Anastasia aligned himself with Joe the Boss Masseria, a powerful mafia chieftain. According to historians, Anastasia was one of the 4 gunmen who assassinated Masseria in 1931 during the bloody Castellamarese War. The hit was ordered by Lucky Luciano, and after Masseria's death, Luciano rewarded Anastasia with a top rank in the Mangano crime family, later known as the Gambino family. By the end of the 1930s, Anastasia had become one of Luciano's most trusted enforcers, controlling dock unions and menacing rivals along the waterfront. In short, the Calabrian immigrant had morphed into a top mafia lieutenant, feared as much for his temper as for the killings he carried out on the syndicate's behalf. To reward Anastasia's loyalty, Lucky Luciano and crime boss Louis Lepke Buckhalter put him in charge of Murder Inc., the National Crime Syndicate's official killing squad. The Murder Inc. hitmen, nicknamed the Brownsville Boys, operated from a candy store backroom in Brooklyn, carrying out hits for all the families. By the mid-1930s, Murder Inc. had executed hundreds or even thousands of victims on contract. During this decade, Anastasia earned his most infamous monikers. As one historian notes, he was one of the most ruthless and feared organized crime figures in American history, which gave rise to titles like the Mad Hatter and Lord High Executioner. The press fanned the terror, reporting that Anastasia once calmly tweaked his fedora just before ordering murders and remarking on the blood-soaked chaos he inspired. Even as Murder Inc. struck fear into rivals, law enforcement scrutiny closed in. In 1941, federal authorities finally broke the organization when hitman Abe Reels turned informant. Reels testified against his partners in exchange for a lighter sentence, naming names, including Anastasia himself. Hearing he could be indicted, Anastasia reportedly put a $100,000 contract on Reels's head. Before the trial ended, Reels was found dead under suspicious circumstances, officially ruled an accident but widely believed to be a mob hit. With Murder, Inc. dismantled, Anastasia was left to transition into open mafia politics. He remained unprosecuted, but his reputation for ordering unsolvable mob hits was cemented in law enforcement circles. During World War II, Anastasia even played a role in the Axis powers conflict, in a twisted sort of way. According to some accounts, he brokered a deal with U.S. Navy and Sicilian contacts. In exchange for Luciano's early release, mafia-controlled docks would stay free of Axis sabotage. Whether that story is legend or fact, Anastasia did join the U.S. Army in 1942, attaining the rank of technical sergeant. He trained soldiers in crane and cargo handling, longshoreman duties, at a Pennsylvania base. In gratitude for his military service, he was granted U.S. citizenship in 1943, an extraordinary reward for a known gangster. After the war, Anastasia bought a garment factory in Pennsylvania and largely stepped back from day-to-day union politics, leaving his brother Tony to run the waterfront rackets. Meanwhile, he steadily expanded his criminal empire. By 1951, Albert Anastasia was the undisputed boss of his own mafia family. That year, Vincent Mangano, the old boss under whom Anastasia had served as underboss, mysteriously vanished, and Vincent's brother Philip was found shot dead in Jamaica Bay. No one was ever charged, but everyone in the mob world suspected Anastasia had ordered the murders. Within a day, Anastasia took over the Mangano family, soon known as the Gambino family. His rule was ruthless. He kept the dock rackets under tight control and even demanded a $200,000 tribute from Newman Guest, a Hollywood producer, for a hotel deal. In New York's criminal underground, the 1950s brought shifting alliances. Anastasia originally allied with Frank Costello on the Mafia Commission, but Vito Genovese's ambition made new conflicts. Most dangerously, Anastasia's own underboss was Carlo Gambino, who quietly began plotting his boss's downfall. By 1957, the tension was palpable. Genovese and Gambino agreed that Anastasia had become too unpredictable. In late October, with the arrangement in place, Anastasia met his fate at home and at work. He walked into a Midtown hotel barbershop, unarmed and trusting, and the orchestration he never expected took place. Anastasia's assassination unfolded exactly as police later described. On October 25, 1957, he entered the Park Sheraton's barbershop with his bodyguard outside. Two gunmen in sunglasses and scarves burst in, shoved the barber aside, and opened fire. Anastasia was hit repeatedly. Witnesses later recalled that after the first shots, he tried to flee, only to collapse face first into the mirror. In total, 5 bullets struck him, ending the life of a man who had never hesitated to kill. The killers escaped immediately into a waiting car, and no one was ever brought to trial. Investigators soon released a sensational report. The hit had been ordered by Genovese and Carlo Gambino. Rumors swirled that Crazy Joe Gallo and a crew of 5 gunmen, dubbed the Barbershop Quintet, carried out the ambush. For the public and the press, the sight of Anastasia sprawled dead in a barber chair became an enduring image. The New York Times noted the vivid image of a helpless victim swathed in white towels as seared into memory. After Anastasia's murder, the barbershop chairs were rearranged to face away from the mirrors, a grim tribute. One of those chairs, the very one Anastasia occupied when he died, was later auctioned off and now displayed at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. It remains a chilling artifact of the moment his bloody reign came to an end. Albert Anastasia's funeral was as stark as his life was violent. No church would conduct the ceremony. The Brooklyn diocese refused to sanction the burial of such a notorious killer. Instead, he was interred quietly at Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn under the name Anastasio on the tombstone. Only a handful of loyal friends and relatives attended. Within months, his entire family changed their name and even moved to Canada, trying to vanish from the headlines. Today, Anastasia is remembered as one of the mafia's most formidable figures. He was a founding architect of what became the Gambino crime family and helped shape organized crime's structure in America. Law enforcement and historians still describe him in superlatives: the earthquake, the one-man army, a man who commanded thousands of lives between docks and back rooms. His life reads like a pulp novel, from a penniless Italian dockworker to the boss of a mob empire, ending in a shower of bullets in a midtown hotel. No fictional movie could invent a more dramatic finale, yet every detail of Albert Anastasia's story is real, and it remains one of the bloodiest tales in American gangster history.